Hey everybody, it's Bruce here with Traveling with Bruce. Welcome to my channel today, and thank you all of you out there who are following this channel, subscribing to TWB, over 60,900 subscribers, giving me thumbs ups, and following me on my Facebook group page. Thank you all of you. Also, those of you who've been making PayPal donations to keep this channel going, I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so very much. Today's video, it's all about CMV, the cruise and maritime voyages cruise line that went into what we call receivership here in North America, July the 20th. The ships of CMV have been here in London since that time, and they were all seized by creditors, and they have since been sold off. I'm going to talk to you about what's going to happen with these 5 ships. The line itself had been a very popular cruise line. They didn't have any trouble selling cabins to passengers to go on trips. This cruise line was doing cruises throughout the Mediterranean, throughout the British Isles, around the world cruises. They did cruises to just all kinds of spots over a number of years. 5 ships, and they had plans to bring additional ships in to modernize their fleet even further, and they really weren't having any issues with regards to selling cruises. The problem is the pandemic got in the way of everything and ruined their business. These kinds of images here and these kinds of places were the kinds of places that CMV cruisers love to go to. You come here to a place like Santorini or so many other Greek islands, and you would just see some imagery that was just stunning. It isn't any wonder why all the major cruise lines want to sail to places like this. What a fantastic scene this is. Unfortunately, despite the 4 and 5 and whatever star service, the line just couldn't survive the pandemic. They were basically forced to shut down like everybody else was when cruise lines around the world had to stop sailing back in March of this year. And unfortunately for CMV, after a month or two, their cash flow dried right out. They were cash poor. They tried to refinance their cruise line, and they just couldn't do it. And their bankers kind of turned their back on them, and this is what happens when you have a cruise line that is not well enough funded and not able to secure additional funding. When you're operating older cruise ships, it's pretty tough. And I'll get into that in just a second. Here's an image here from Tilbury, the port area near London itself. This picture will slowly zoom out so you can see what I'm talking about. You'll see a number of ships highlighted here that have all been docked, and the courts systematically organized an auction to auction off all of these ships. I think 4 of the 5 of them are here. The ASTOR, the MAGELLAN, the VASCO DA GAMA. I believe the Columbus was there, and I believe the Marco Polo as well. Unfortunately, the ships are no longer part of the CMV fleet. They are now have been scattered about. A couple of the ships, unfortunately, have been sold at auction, and the kind of money paid for them tells me that this is their future. 2 of the ships will most likely be scrapped in pretty short order. This will be their fate when it's all said and done. They'll slowly be taken apart, and parts will be sold off and or broken down into material for recycling, and the ships we'll see another day in another format, and that's the way it goes. The first ship that sold at auction, or let's put it this way, the cheapest one to go was this one right here, the ASTOR. It sold for $1,710,000 approximately, US money. That is a price that equals scrappage. The entity that bought this ship will break it down, and they will bring in much more money than $1.7 million, but the labor that's going to be required to bust it up will eat up a bunch of the cash. There will be a profit here, but bottom line, this ship, unfortunately, will not sail again. It was built in 1987, can handle 650 passengers. Notice no balconies. 300 crew used to work on the ship, and she's 577 feet long and 72 feet wide. And her days had come and gone. Unfortunately, I believe she was built in Germany, and she's had a bit of a varied history. But with CMV, she ended her days in the early 2000s. The second ship that was sold is this one right here, the Marco Polo. It went for $2,770,000, and that again is a scrap yard price for a cruise ship. This one was built in 1965. She had 820 passengers at capacity, 356 crew. The ship was 577 feet long, 75 feet wide. And a lot of folks enjoyed this ship over the decades. I mean, a ship built in 65, my gosh, 55-year-old ship. A lot of money was sunk into her, obviously, over the years to modify her and refurbish her. But, going forward, this ship has no future in the modern cruise ship world, unfortunately. And so these are now memories of a ship whose days have come and gone. But I tell you, there have probably been, I wouldn't be surprised if over 1 million people were on this ship over its lifetime, and a lot of memories were made. The third ship, the Magellan, sold for $3,431,000. Now, this ship is a former Carnival ship, as you can see by the whale-shaped funnel there. It has 9 passenger decks, 726 rooms, 14 balcony rooms, 277 inside rooms, 449 ocean view rooms. The ship was built in 1985. It had a passenger capacity of about 1,452, a crew of 660, 725 feet long, 105 feet wide. The ship will not go to scrap immediately. It looks like it's been picked up by a ferry operator from Greece known as SeaJets. SeaJets is a private company, Greek origin, and they bought this one and also this one, the Columbus. The CMV Columbus sold for $5,321,000 and was built in 1988. Has a capacity of 1,400 to 1,800 passengers, crew of 700. She's 804 feet long, 105 feet wide. She became originally the Star Princess in 1988. Then she was sold off or moved over to P&O Australia, again a Carnival line, and was called the Arcadia. And then she became part of the CMV line in 2017. Now, SeaJets, as I said earlier, is a Greek-based company that operates ferry ships all over the place. They have different kinds of ferries. They have these high-speed catamarans that can go anywhere from 30 knots to up to 40 knots. And then they have these monohull ships over here. And some of these can handle vehicles and passenger and freight. Some can handle freight like trucks, and others passengers only. In a number of these Greek islands, this is the only way in and out because obviously they're too far apart to have bridges, and so the only way to get groceries in, food, supplies, people, medical supplies, everything else will be by ferry. And that's the main way of getting a lot of goods and people into these areas. Now, SeaJets has also been busy. They have picked up the Oceania from P&O. They bought the Holland America Viandam and Mazdam. And now they've picked up the P&O ship, P&O Australia ship, Pacific Area. And so the SeaJets people are picking up now 6 ships in total, the 2 from CMV, 4 from Carnival, different lines, obviously, Holland America and P&O Australia. And what they're going to do with them is anyone's guess. By the way, to give you an idea how big some of these catamarans are, take a look at this. These are buses parked on the dock here on the pier. Look at the size of the catamaran ferry. These are huge. Some of the photos are quite misleading. Don't kind of tell you just how big these things are. And for them to move at up to 40 knots, that's impressive. Here you go. Here are a couple of big people and small cars getting on and off the SeaJets catamaran ferry. We'll have to see what SeaJets is up to. There's talk that they might be operating overnight ferry services for these recently acquired cruise ships, because of course the cruise ships can't take vehicles. You can't put a truck on there, can't put cars on there, but you can sure load up a lot of tourists. And the future for this cruise line might be, or this ferry line is, they might move into a year-round scenario where they start offering kind of a year-round combination ferry and holiday service to people who want to get around these Greek islands and or between other spots in the Mediterranean. We'll be following it, and I'll let you know what I know when I know it. Here's one of those ships they bought, the Pacific Eden. If I got my bearings correct, P&O cruise ship. We'll see what happens with this whole story with the SeaJets. It's a most interesting development that they've picked up 6 cruise ships when they're really known as a ferry line. We'll see what happens after the pandemic eases up. Let's hope. Now, the last ship that sold off at auction was this one, the VASCO DA GAMA. Now, this one sold for $10,187,000. Was picked up by a company called Mystic Investments, and they operate a number of vessels. They also own Germany's cruise line Nico Cruises and U.S.-based Atlantis cruise voyages. The VASCO DA GAMA was built in 1992. She can handle 1,250 to 1,500 passengers, a crew of 588. The length is 719 feet, width is 98. She was originally built as the Holland America MS Statendam, and then she was transferred to the P&O Australia cruise line Pacific Eden. There we are. That picture I showed you earlier about the Eden is actually part of this, is this actual ship right here, and then became transferred to the CMV line. So there you go. The Pacific Eden became part of CMV, and now the ship is part of Mystic. And it's going to be interesting to see what Mystic does, because they sail to the Arctic and Antarctic. They sail through the Mediterranean, Northern Europe, and they do transatlantic voyages. And this ship right here, the World Explorer, was just completed for Mystic just a few months ago. And that ship is designed to go here to Antarctica and Arctic sailings. And they are going to be building, apparently they got an order for 5 more of those types of ships. And the Atlas cruise line, or Atlas Ocean Voyages, for American passengers, all high-end 5-star service, fully inclusive cruises. That includes your airfare to the port and home, all meals, all drinks, all gratuities, you name it. They're going all out, probably a 6-star kind of operation. It's going to be interesting to see how they fare once they're up and running. But in the meantime, they've picked up a vessel that was built in 1992, 28 years old, and it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do with that one. They're going to really refurbish it up and really luxuriate it. And will it ever see this area down here to visit the penguins in Antarctica? Or is it going to be kept back in, say, the Mediterranean and Northern Europe? Time will tell. We'll see what happens. Anyway, there you have it. The CMV ships are gone. The ASTOR, the Marco Polo, the Magellan, the Columbus, and the VASCO DA GAMA have been dealt with. As far as the courts are concerned, not a ton of money came in, but it was, looks like a little over 20 million American came through the front door. How much of that ends up to creditors, we'll see. Not a good story, unfortunately, but that line is no longer. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll keep you posted on what's happening in the cruise biz. Join me Mondays and Fridays for live shows. Thanks for your support, everybody. We'll see you later. Bye for now.